I know I shouldn't be touching my face considering that we're still in a pandemic, but good Christ, what did I just watch? Hey everyone, it's Alexander, the real Mr. Robinson. Welcome to the channel. This is my review for Mortal Kombat Annihilation, which came out in 1997 and is the sequel to 1995's Mortal Kombat, directed by Paul W.S. Anderson. And this movie is directed by John R. Leonetti in his directorial debut, who was the DP on the first Mortal Kombat movie. And if this and Aliens vs. Predator Requiem has proven anything, it's that nobody should be allowed to make sequels to Paul W.S. Anderson movies that end on cliffhangers because, wow, they are so much worse than the original movie. And I like the first Mortal Kombat again. So the plot to this movie is that a group of filmmakers decided to make a sequel to Mortal Kombat. They didn't actually have a straightforward story at all, so they just decided to film a bunch of pointless action scenes with characters thrown in with no introduction whatsoever, and lazily stitch a story together about how the Emperor Shao Kahn wants to take over the Earth realm and basically merge it and the Outworld. And oh man, because I thought Transformers Revenge of the Fallen was a plotless movie, this movie runs circles around the plotlessness of Transformers 2. So a couple weeks ago, I was invited to be a guest on the Out Now podcast, which is hosted by one of my fellow Hollywood Critics Association colleagues, Aaron Newart. And the show was about Godzilla vs. Kong, but early on in the show, they had a segment where we talk about the new movies that we saw, or just whatever we saw that previous week. I talked about how I watched the first Mortal Kombat movie for the very first time. And then I was asked, are you going to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation? And I said yes, but I have heard so many terrible things about this movie that I'm just going to brace myself. And I even said that last week in my review, where I'm just bracing myself. But even then, that could not prepare me for how awful Mortal Kombat Annihilation is. Like I said before, I like the first Mortal Kombat movie, but I know it's not a good movie. It's a dumb action movie, and it's enjoyable just for that. This movie, however, makes that movie look like a masterpiece. I mean, the first Mortal Kombat might as well be Casablanca by comparison, because the movie is just so... There's so much wrong with Mortal Kombat Annihilation that I would be here all day talking about every single little problematic detail that is wrong with this movie, but I'm going to try to narrow it down as much as possible. First, let's talk about one of the biggest problems in the movie, the acting and the casting. Every character from the previous movie, except for Liu Kang and Katana, are recast in this movie. Christopher Lambert, who played Raiden in the last movie, is replaced by James Remar, and Remar is taking this role completely seriously. Like, he feels like he's invested in what's going on, whereas when you watch Christopher Lambert in the first Mortal Kombat movie, he kind of knew what he was in, so he just decided to have fun with it. Like, he didn't really take it seriously at all, whereas James Remar is taking it seriously, and it's like, dude, no, this is not a movie that you take seriously at all. I mean, even playing it up for laughs, it doesn't work. And then Bridget Wilson, who played Sonya Blade in the last movie, is replayed by Sandra Hess. And I could not buy at all the fact that Sonya in this movie was a soldier. I mean, it makes me want to apologize to Bridget Wilson for saying that she was bland and uninteresting in the first Mortal Kombat. Because at least with that movie, I bought the fact that she was a fighter. I bought the fact that she was a soldier. With Sandra Hess, though, not so much. And in the entire movie, they have her running around in a tight tank top and really short shorts. The movie's only real purpose for Sonya is for her to be a sex object, because, again, she's wearing really tight clothes. And some of the fights that she gets into, the way they're shot and framed, they just really objectify her. And there's a scene where she's fighting some random person in mud, and you're just like, come on, really? And then there's no point in talking about Johnny Cage because he gets killed off at the beginning of the movie. One of the more interesting characters from the last movie is just killed off in this one, and nothing ever comes out of it. And casting aside, the acting in this movie is just atrocious. It is some of the very worst acting you will ever see in a big action spectacle film. The spectacle's not even that great, but I'll get back to that a little later. We get to see more of Talisa Soto as Katana, and watching this movie, I got really strong Gal Gadot vibes from her. Except Gal Gadot actually has charisma, at least now, ever since she's become a megastar thanks to Wonder Woman. Even in some of the Fast and Furious movies, she's had charisma. Talisa Soto, however, is so bland, so uninteresting, and it does confirm my suspicion that she was only in that first movie to set up this one, which her very existence hinders on the plot of this movie moving forward. Plot. And then you have the actress who plays Katana's mother. And I think this performance can be summed up with one line of dialogue. Too bad you will die. That is the one line of dialogue that everyone points to when they make fun of Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and rightfully so. But when we get to Shao Kahn, oh boy, if there's anyone who can overact more than the actress who plays Katana's mother, it's this guy. Now, in the first movie, Shao Kahn only appeared at the end, and he was voiced by Frank Welker doing the Dr. Claw impression. You weak, pathetic fools, I've come for your soul. Clearly, Frank Welker's better at doing the Dr. Claw voice than I am. Anyway, he's played physically by Brian Thompson, and you might remember him from the original Terminator, where he plays one of those punks that tries to stab Arnold Schwarzenegger, but instead Arnold punches through his stomach and pulls his guts out. But in this movie, he is just so over the top, and he does not care at all what he is in. He is just hamming it up, chewing scenery, and devouring the set. One of my favorite lines in this movie, well, I mean, there are a couple, but from him specifically, my favorite line is, "The merger has begun. Earth is under attack. And it is glorious!" And if there's a good thing that I can say about this movie, and it's a pure backhanded compliment, it's that it is hilarious. If this were a satire of video game movies, it would be the most brilliant satire ever made, because there is not a single scene in this movie that is not funny as fuck. I found myself laughing my ass off every 2 minutes because something would pop up that would just make me laugh uncontrollably. Terrible special effects. Like, the CGI in this movie is embarrassing. And what's even more embarrassing is that this movie has almost double the budget of the first Mortal Kombat. The first Mortal Kombat cost about $18 million to make, and there was some real shoddy CGI in that movie as well, but those CGI moments don't happen very often. Annihilation, however, has a budget of $30 million, so they have a budget to do more, but not to do better. And the CGI in this movie stays on for so long, especially the big final battle where Liu Kang and Shao Kahn morph into dragons. It's a joke. Like, again, it would be hilarious if this movie was a satire, but it's not. You're expecting us to take this seriously, and we can't. And again, the CGI is so bad. It's inexcusable. And the fact that these two creatures are on screen for so long, it hurts the movie even more. This came out the same year as The Lost World. Now, granted, The Lost World has a much bigger budget than this, $75 million, but the CGI in that movie is damn impressive compared to this. I can't even with that. At this shot of Shao Kahn transforming, boy, oh man. And this movie also has the worst green screen effects I've ever seen in a movie. Like, I talked about how the theatrical cut to Justice League had bad green screen, but at least in that movie, you don't see Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman's shoulders being clipped out by the green screen. In this movie, it's so obvious, and you can see characters' shoulders being chipped away because of the green screen effects. And again, I'm at a loss for words. There's not much else to say about that. It's like, you just have to see the movie for yourself and realize, oh my god, this is, wow. There is not much else to say about this movie. I guess another thing that I can say in its defense is that it never made me angry, because I was so filled with joy and laughter from how inept this movie is that I couldn't get angry. Why would I get angry at a movie like this? So don't waste your money at all if you plan to watch this with a serious mindset. If you ever watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation, God forbid, get hammered or stoned with your friends and just talk and make fun of it the entire time. Because it really is a movie that you sit on the couch with your friends and make fun of. But if you watch it by yourself, which God help you in that sense, the best way you can look at this movie is, again, think of it as a satire. Think of it as making fun of video game movie tropes, because I think it kind of works in that aspect. Again, it's not good. Out of all the video game movies I've seen, this is hands down the worst one. But, man, you will have a fun time watching it just because of how terrible it is. So for those of you expecting me to tell this movie to burn in hell, I'm sorry to disappoint you, because, again, this movie's too funny for me to be mad at. And there you go, that's my review for Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the single worst video game movie I've ever seen so far, which honestly is not saying much. And I want to make something that I said earlier in this review perfectly clear. Just because I said this movie runs circles around Transformers 2 in terms of being a plotless movie, that does not mean I like Transformers 2 better than Mortal Kombat Annihilation, because that movie still made me angry. And I had to see it in a theater, which really amplified my frustration with it. And that movie was a big hit. This movie bombed, and because it's so hilarious and so incompetent, I couldn't be angry at it, like I said beforehand. I do like this better than Transformers Revenge of the Fallen. I'm gonna put that out there right now. Now, with the new Mortal Kombat movie coming out next week, I hope that it's good, or at the very least entertaining. It would be amazing if this movie ended up being worse than Mortal Kombat Annihilation, but I doubt it. And from the reviews so far, it seems like it's mixed. It seems to be faithful to the video games, but still has some problems. But I'm not judging it yet. I'm seeing the movie next week. I'm kind of excited to see it. And next week on Twitch, I'll be streaming some Mortal Kombat. So twitch.tv/RealMrRobinson if you want to go check that out. But now I want to know what you guys think about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. If you've seen it, what did you think? Whatever the case may be, let me know in the comments below. And until next time, this is the Real Mr. Robinson telling you there's only one. Hello everyone, I just wanted to say thank you all for watching my review for Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, and follow me on social media, whether that be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go check out my Twitch channel and support me on Patreon. I'll see you guys in the next video, but until then, have a good day and take care of yourselves.